So it's my privilege in the essence of life to introduce to you Professor Ike Cherian. So, but I think before I start my um, introduction of you and who you are, why don't you give us a little bit of introduction about who you are and a little about your life story?
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. I thoroughly enjoyed when you visited, and our team learned a lot from you. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Cherian. I serve as the Director of Neurosciences at Krishna Vishwavidyapit, Karad. I finished my undergraduate studies, my MBBS, from Kottayam in Kerala. And then I did a direct 6-year neurosurgery course from Christian Medical College, Vellore, which is the oldest department in Asia, established in 1949. And then I went on to have a fellowship in skull base and vascular in Japan with Professor Sano and Professor Kato. Then after that, I served in 14 years in Nepal. Starting a center starting 3 centers in the south, one from west to the center. West was Pokhara, center was Chitwan, and then in the east in Biratnagar. So started 3 centers. Now then came back to India, and right now we are at Karad.
Well, the title of this podcast is something unusual, I would say. The title is Essence of Life, Meditation, 7 Chakras, and Discipline in Neurosurgery. These are things that, as somebody who is Western trained, okay, discipline in neurosurgery, I understand that part. As many people know, the medicine was developed in Europe based on the doctor surgeon who were part of Prussian army. So most of doctors, they were officers in the army in Germany. So the discipline part, I get that. But how do we now combine the ideas of discipline in neurosurgery with meditation and 7 chakras? So I see a heavy history behind this title. I'm really interested to see, how you reconcile this Eastern and Western philosophy of that the title brings to the table.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me that. If you look at our jobs, we all want what we lack. Some people lack peace, they want peace. Some lack money, they want money.
Mm-hmm.
Some lack love, they want love. Some lack respect, they want respect. So it's generally our life is driven by things that we had not seen and what we want. So a billionaire gives away money to have peace, while a middle class person works all his life to have some money. So this is the irony of life. In neurosurgery, I have realized over the past 20 years or so that I have been attracted to neurosurgery. I've realized that you could work in 2 ways. One is in fear. You get stressed about a surgery, the adrenaline takes you over the finishing point, and you be tired after that, you stress over the next surgery. So it's a constant adrenaline driven job. You're stressed about your patient's outcome. You're stressed about administration. You're stressed about money that you need. This is one way of life. Another way of life is flow. You get into a flow from the moment you start the day. You're not in any hurry. The whole thing about the flow is that the flow doesn't have a purpose. You trust the universe to take you forward. Now, this kind of things seems very naive because you generally people would think if you don't have a purpose, where are you going to land? But if you have a focus and no purpose, generally the flow will take you through. If you don't have a focus and no purpose, that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. And that is,
So, please
no,
ask me.
that's very interesting concept that that all of us, we are looking for a sense in our life, and we hijack our own lives to create that purpose. Some Western philosophies go as far to say, you have to create a purpose, even if there is no purpose. And we call them existentialists, like Sartre, like Russell. And some,
Jean-Paul Sartre.
yeah, and some people even go behind that, that they say, like Camus, they say that um, even though there is no purpose in life, you can make a purpose and live for that, like existential nihilism. And in Western, we have this arrogant to believe we invented, we are creating all of that. Whereas you come from a culture where this kind of philosophy was invented long, long, long before the European could read and write. So you're describing an old method, an old philosophy of life that is ancient as the Indian culture is. And I'm really happy that you're discussing. Now, how much of what you're discussing is rooted in the Hinduism or Buddhism, which is very wide spread in your part of the world? I mean, is it something that you grew up with, or how did you come to that level in your life that say, just flow, go with the flow, be focused on what you do, and the right thing will happen for you?
Hinduism was never a religion before. It was collective conscience. No knowledge was wrong. There was no dogmatism at all. Everything was correct. There was no good or evil. That's something that I will speak to you. Right now, I'll elaborate on what you asked right now. So, if you look at it, as a human being, we're always in space-time. Except our mind, which can escape space-time, because the mind can travel faster than light. So anything that cannot travel faster than light is bound to be within the space-time. It's like a room that you create. It is a room that you create. And in this room, the walls are created by you. The floor, the windows, everything is created by you. It's because you start to understand the world by creating boundaries. As a child, you are told that this man is this color, this man is this color. This person comes from this background, he's poor, the other one is rich. So you start making these boundaries. I mean, as a child, you don't have any boundaries. But as you grow up, the boundaries increase. Finally, you are first enclosed in a city, then you get enclosed in a home that you get as you grow older and older, you get enclosed in a room. So you have so much boundaries that you are uncomfortable anywhere outside that room. This is the usual way of growing up. Hinduism is just against that. There was no Hinduism as such. Being in India, you had to go against all that. It was breaking down boundaries. And it is when you break down boundaries, you understand who you are. And this is why I will tell you about the transcendence through chakras. So they say when you are filled up with prana, prana is the life force, and they call it chi in Chinese. So when you start getting filled up with prana, the first chakra that gets filled up is Mooladhara.
Mhm.
Now, Mooladhara is a chakra which is concerned with lust. But along with lust, the chakra also deals with creativity. So the problem is, over time, people think that it is Mooladhara is associated with lust, so it's something evil, or it's something not to be discussed. But the problem is, these are primal forces. And without these, you never go into the next level. The moment you teach somebody or you think that this is a sin, that's where the mistake is, and you stay at that chakra. Actually, in our philosophy, what we think the biggest sin is guilt and shame. Nirlajjam sarvam sukhi, which means who doesn't have shame, they are the happiest. So most religions inculcated shame, guilt, and associated that with God. God, if there is a concept of God, God would never want you to be shameful or guilty. So all religions started putting this. And that's where I think the whole philosophy of this region varies from others. So there is no guilt or no shame. And so Mooladhara in India, Kama Sutra was written for 11-year-olds. So Mooladhara, after Mooladhara, attain your sensual satisfaction, and then you come into this next chakra, that is Swadhisthana, which is the chakra when you have attained satisfaction, that you don't need anything more. You don't need more sex, you don't need more food, you don't need more money, so you are not greedy. This is the first thing that you have to get out of.
If I
This
may
is
just ask a clarifying question, what would be the closest translation of chakras in English? How would you explain to somebody, first of all, we have these chakras, you are going through that, but how would an English native person can conceptualize chakras?
it is a collection of energy. It is a collection of energies. For example, if you have to drive up water to a hill, first thing what you do is you first drive it to certain height, then make a dam there. Then you can drive it to the next level, then make a dam there, so that you don't have to drive it all up in one go. So these are collections of energy where you ascend to one level, then you get to the next level, and then to the next level, and so on. So that would be chakras. So as we were discussing, we talked about Mooladhara, which deals with lust and creativity, which one must embrace, and then come to Swadhisthana, where there is no greed, no lust for anything, for food, for sex, for money, for nothing, for fame, for respect. You are satisfied. Once you are satisfied, next comes the Manipura. Manipura is a chakra of energy. In other words, if you are satisfied, that is when you are energized. If you're not satisfied, it's like pouring water into a pot with holes. So more you pour, more you lose. So if you have lust for something, you will never be full of energy.
Yeah.
And so Manipura, once you're satisfied, then comes energization.
If I
So
may interject very shortly, I sort of have the feeling these are the levels of consciousness in a personal development. And I can just tell you, in the Western societies, first we are a human with lust and hunger. And when we are enlightened, we shed the feeling for achievement, material achievement. And for in Western countries, that is where personal achievement stops. You're telling me in your culture there are 5 more levels above that. Is that what I hear? That is amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. So, because in our culture, once you have shed the natural material things, you are there. There is at the highest level. But no, I'm so interested. Now we made it to the level 3. Please continue.
Well, everything in our culture is simple. So after Manipura, then now you come next to Anahata. Anahata is the chakra where two pure emotions exist. One is pure sadness. And pure sadness is when you separate with something that you love. Or pure happiness. Both brings tears. Pure happiness brings tears. Pure sadness also brings tears. And these tears is something that a child knew and you don't know, because you have forgotten to cry because there is no pure sadness anymore, because you have mixed it so much so that we have shades of gray now. Pure happiness is by tanmatras, meaning small things. Tanmatra means a very small thing. For example, if you see a child smile, it brings tears to you. You see a sunset through a drop of water on a blade of grass, that brings tears to you. So $1 billion doesn't bring tears to you. But what brings tears to you is if you have the right mind, if you have a non-greedy mind, if you are not lustful for anything, and if you are satisfied, and if you are energized, if you are full of energy, then when you see small things, tears come. So these tears are like your internal shower. You take an external shower, but you don't cry. Your interior, your soul gets more and more dirty. And like a man who doesn't take shower, as you get more dirty, you adjust to that dirtiness. And you think what is dirty is right. So the ability to cry, that is anahata. And then comes Vishuddha. This is the ability to be kind. It's not charity. Charity is when you have too much and you are shameful of that, and then you give away something. But that is schadenfreude. But when you have only one shirt and you need it, but you see somebody who is asking for it, and happily you are able to give it away, this is what is kindness. In India, this kindness was personified by Karna. The last battle was between Karna and Arjuna in Mahabharata. And Arjuna's father, the god of gods, Indra, he knows very well that Arjuna cannot win with Karna, because Karna is much more skilled. And Karna is the sun god's son. So Indra goes dressed as a Brahmin to Karna, because he knows Karna is very kind. And while Karna is offering the evening prayers, Indra asks Karna, can you give me the shield and the earrings with which you were born? Because this shield and the earrings would protect him from any arrows, from death. So Karna did not say a word. He took his sword because this shield was attached to his skin. So he cut this shield away and he cut the earrings off. Then he went to his mother, Ganga, the river, and he washed this in Ganga. And Ganga came up and she said, son, what are you doing? You will die tomorrow. So Karna said, my victory is not within this shield or this earrings. My victory is my skill, my confidence. So I will win. If I have to win, I will win. So he 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 folded this and then he gave it to Indra. This is kindness. He did not ask Indra, how can you ask me this? Are you so stupid to ask me this? So your son, and next day Karna dies in battle. So this is kindness. And anybody who is kind has already reached Vishuddha Chakra. Moment you can be kind. So most children are very kind. So they do not understand the worth of things. They are kind. People call them naive, but if you look at Mahadev, or the greatest concept of God in India, he's called Bholanath. Shiva is called Bholanath. And Bhola in Hindi really means stupid. Silly or
What an
stupid.
interesting concept. Go ahead, please. Interesting.
So I remember Steve Jobs, after wandering in India, he said, stay foolish, stay hungry. And people don't understand the meaning, the profound meaning of it. Stay foolish is like stay naive. That's when your mind is open, you have no boundaries, and the universe is within you. So this is the chakra of kindness. Then comes the chakra of Agya. Agya is the chakra where your female energy, that is your Ida, the left-sided energy, and your male energy, that is the right-sided energy, Pingala, it crosses with your Sushumna, that is your main nadi or your main energy, your main nerve, let us say. There is a nerve, or in Indian concept, there is this nerve which connects you to the cosmos, that is called your Sushumna. It connects you to the cosmos. So your female energy, Shakti, and your male energy, Shiva, it crosses at the Sushumna. So they intertwine. This is a point where there is no past, no present, no male, no female, no good,
I
no
have a
bad.
question, sir. Is it the third eye?
Yeah, so the
Is
third
it this
eye,
Sushma is third?
it is the third eye. It is the third eye is a metaphysical eye. It is not a real eye. It is a metaphysical eye which allows you to see without any boundaries, which allows you to see that you have no shape, you have no properties. It's called Nirgun Nirakar. When you open the third eye, the world destroys. Your whole physical world, your space-time, it gets destroyed. Because then you become somebody with no boundaries within, you have no time even.
If I
So
may
no,
ask, is that the background why when we arrived in India, in the hotel, they put some red dye and put in the middle, we saw that for many people. Is this the background of that dot that in India they put in your forehead?
yes. So this is to open your third eye. So generally you put bhasma. Bhasma is whatever, when something is burned, you get ash. The whole point of putting bhasma on this is to understand that when the fire of knowledge goes through each chakras and comes to Agya, it is burned everything. Your ego is burnt, completely burnt. Your concept of the world is burnt. Everything is gone up in ashes. Only ashes remain. And when ashes remain, stillness remains. There is stillness, complete stillness. And there's only Shivoham. Shivoham is collective conscience. I mean, the whole universe. They asked Jesus Christ, if people don't cheer for you when you enter Jerusalem, what will happen? He said, the stones will cheer for you. The stones will cheer for me. So we divide animate, inanimate, life, no life, we don't understand that everything has life. Everything has vibrations, every atom, whether it is part of you or it is part of us. What is part of a star is tomorrow part of you. And life is, the concept of life doesn't have any inanimate, animate things. That is what we divided it into.
So you
So,
believe in the consciousness of the universe of itself, that is what you're saying, that the universe has a consciousness of itself beyond what we human consider as consciousness.
yes. So the universe has a consciousness of itself. The whole concept of meditation is to tap into, open doors into the consciousness of the universe. It is not and this is paradoxically found inside you. You open your eyes inside, the whole universe is inside. This is the beauty. You don't have to look out. When you look inside, self actualization or self awareness is when you look inside and you found. So, in fact, the next chakra after Agya is Sahasrasara. There, the mantra of Sahasrasara is Tattvamasi, which means you are the universe. Now, because we are enclosed in space time, we have a space, we have time. But imagine your atoms are traveling because the universe is expanding. Your atoms, right now, where you think you are not where you are. You're traveling through space, you're hurtling through space. The earth is going around the sun itself is moving, the galaxies are expanding. So you're not aware of that. So you think you are in one place, and that's because you're relative to that place. But everything is expanding, moving. So you are everywhere. You have been everywhere. And the atoms that comprise you today may not be the atoms that make you tomorrow. So if you look at the quantum of it, then you understand the truth. So, Sahasrasara Chakra, you understand the consciousness doesn't reside in your body, it resides in you.
What do you explain in this what makes that? Obviously you are considering even inanimate object to have a consciousness, a different consciousness than ours, and I think that's a beautiful way of looking at the universe. And I truly believe a universe that is this old is almost impossible not to develop consciousness. But as well, what I noticed is that deep respect for life of any kind that I met in India. Do you think that is why, at least in many of these Eastern cultures, the sanctity of life is so much higher because we consider even a stone to be conscious, even a animal to be conscious, and so on. Do you think that is why this deep respect for the life comes in your part of the world, because everything has a consciousness of its own?
Yes, even the stone has the stone has consciousness. And it is not just for life. For example, the people who worship Shiva, the Aghoris, the real followers of Shiva, they don't, if you go to these mountains, for example, you go to Muktinath, 3,800 meters. They don't wear any clothes. They sleep in the snow. We don't even know what is their age. And they go to the ghats. If they don't have food, they go to the ghats, and half-burned bodies, they eat them. So the Aghoris, this is a different level of, existence. This is a different level where they understand that there is no good, no bad. When you say vegetarianism, non-vegetarianism, it's dogma. But when you break down all that, you understand the atoms that let us say, I magnify you. I take a magnifying glass and put it on you. After some time, I will see the cells. Then after some time, I magnify some more. I'll see the molecules. Then I'll see atoms. And what are atoms? Below atoms, there's just energy. And that energy your energy cannot be distinguished from the floor or the chair that you're sitting, cannot be distinguished from the room that you are in. There's no change. It's just a collection which is like a wave in the water. It is like a wave in the water. There's no shape for it. It moves away. This is why it's called Maya. So you're not different from anything.
It is amazing that you're saying that because, as you know, Heisenberg and Schrödinger, they came with this wave theory in early 1900s that practically that what you're describing is thousands of years old. And in 1910 to 23, they came out with that equation, the so-called Schrödinger equation, that you can describe everything with a waveform. That Professor Ike Cherian, there is a wave formula, wave pattern that describe you, and that wave pattern, according to them, it goes across the universe. But the only reason that you are personified where you are sitting is because of your interaction with your surrounding that limits you to your physical location. But that locality is very, very deceiving. And it is amazing that, you are describing now in 1,000-year-old way of life, something that is just recently quantum physics has came up with. And again, we are not calling Buddhism or Hinduism. We call it, the wave locality, and put a formula there. And it's amazing that the technology that you and I are working right now and computer is based on that. So there is a physical reality to what you are describing. That's what makes our computer technology possible. And the concept that every physical being can be described as a wave, as a vibration. It is amazing that your culture came up with that thousands of years before anybody else. Now, please continue. I'm very interested.
I just want to say one thing. According to this wave and frequency, from there might be the quote come that your vibes bring your tribes. That if we bring our frequency on that level, that goodness or happiness, then we will meet the people also on that same level.
Yeah. So, another thing that you have to realize is that a whole chunk of human history is missing. And our science as such is only about 10,000 years old. And about 200 years is when we start talking about the so-called cutting edge science. If you told somebody 5,000 years back, you can go to moon, they will laugh at you. The same way, right now, we are still in the infancy with science. Mantras, if you see, these are chantings which can completely alter the locality that you are in. So if you chant something regularly, you have to understand what is quantum coherence. Quantum coherence is a state where your existence as a particle and wave is in sync. So what brings quantum coherence is For example, for you, what brings you into that flow? Kindness, happiness, joy, stillness. All this brings coherence into you. You're in sync. The Western culture has moved away. They have become smarter, more cunning. They live in cities where there is no stillness, where they live in enclosed spaces they call apartments, where you cannot have your own way. And they eat things which are poisoned. So your quantum coherence is disturbed, and you actually become what you call an animal. An animal is not a bad term to use. It is when you lose the ability to understand your conscience, to appreciate your conscience. That's because you lose your flow, and then you become an animal which only objective is survival. Survival is the only objective for an animal, but for a human being, when you have 100 billion neurons, you're able to have the whole universe within you. The understanding should be much more. It is not for survival. It's not, your purpose is not survival. This is what science teaches us from the past.
And now we get to this, the idea of meditation. Now, I can tell you one of the hardest thing for me personally to do is to do nothing. And I cannot tell you, how many times I have tried to meditate in a sense of not just standing still, but just as well shed every activity of my brain, to empty my brain. And either I'm not understanding meditation right, or it is the hardest thing that I have ever tried to do. It's for me harder than clipping a aneurysm. Meditation is for me harder than clipping an aneurysm. And I have done, brainstem glioma, and I rather do that than sit 5 minutes, try to free my mind. But I understand now, considering these levels of consciousness,
Bella,
what is the value of that? So, what tips? How can you tell us? What is the path one can take to get to that level of consciousness, to shed the consciousness away?
so our usual thoughts on anything is to put effort to achieve something. Unfortunately, meditation is the lack of effort, where the more you put in effort, the more you go away from yourself and meditation. So the flow is to understand that it is the art of letting go. So for example, one of the first things that you can do is to learn rappelling. Rappelling is, it's something I love. So you go to the top of a place, you have this rope with you, and then you let go, you falling, and then you can arrest the fall slowly. The more skilled you are in rappelling, it is just your ability to let go. So the thing is, the moment you are clinging on to things, imagine you are in a current, a huge current. There are lots of stones around. You could cling on to these stones or leave everything and plunge into the uncertainty. So this is the ability to let go. Or in other words, be a witness. meaning you could stay outside the current and see that your mind is churning out everything that it can. And you just watching, you're just a witness. So stay there as a witness without clinging on to anything. Whatever thoughts may come, don't think it is right, wrong, correct, good, tamasic, sattvic. No. Whatever it may come, let it come and let it be.
I can
So
say
that
that only once I came close to what you're describing, maybe once or twice. And the first time I came close to what you're describing is that it was my first call in my residency. I started at 3:30 a.m. and it was 4th of July 2002. I started my residency in Galveston, Texas, and we had trauma after trauma after trauma. I mean, high level of stress. Eventually, after 20 hours being into that, nonstop dealing with life and death, I was in a trance situation. I was almost like in a trance. I was tired. I have been working already 20 hours. I was in that situation. I almost had this feeling my body has to go through another 20 hours, but my mind cannot keep up anymore. So this is what I felt. I stepped out of my brain. I sort of like took another level. I went up and I said, okay, I'm going to just watch my body suffer another 20 hours. But my mind is I'm going to treat my body like a robot, let it go and deal with that, what's happening. And I'm just going to watch. I'm not going to say out of body experience because I was fully aware that I'm still in this body, but I'm going to just watch myself performing, let the body keep going while my mind is taking a break. So, but I attributed that to just being super tired and just having having the choice, having a total breakdown versus just let my body work like a robot. But now that you're describing it, that makes a lot more sense. You are describing it. So
it's your ability to let go. So even if you are not tired, so when do you finally let go? That is why death has been designed. Death has been designed so that finally whoever doesn't let go has to let go. So it is a transition where you let go and you go to the right place. So if you are able to let go even without dying, then you're lucky because you understand what it is to let go. So if it is meditation is letting go so that your locality is the same, but you open a window into the universe. You look into the universe, the vastness and the stillness of the universe. You may not be still, but you are looking into this vastness, stillness, timeless universe. You open a window. It's like sitting in a dark room and then you are able to open a window. You may not be still, but you're able to open. And when you look at that stillness, you become that. So the first step in meditation is to open a window. And the next step is to let go so that you become the stillness. The more you try, the more you will, not succeed. It's like going to sleep. So, I mean, I wish when you come probably next time, we can go through this experience.
well, would be amazing experience to be able to let go, because as you know, at least in the Western traditional medicine teaching, it is about interaction. It's all about interaction. You see symptoms, you try to analyze it, you try to differential diagnose it, and then you act. It is the very transactional. What we do as a, and what this is what I'm amazed. I wouldn't be surprised if a Buddhist monk would talk like you. But I'm pretty surprised that a neurosurgeon who has put that fantastic award, that high technology, I'm amazed that somebody who is on one side very transactional as a neurosurgeon has to be, like when you are about to clip an aneurysm, I think the letting it go is the last thing on the mind of any neurosurgeon. But what I have noticed, like when I do surgery now, I try to shut down my mind. I let my body work, and my body work like in truly in harmony. As soon as I try to interject myself, I'm then things become harder, actually. Okay,
Yeah.
so I sort of understand that, but that is not how we are taught. We are not taught you go to the war and you let go. No, but what happens after you have done 10,000 of those surgeries, but then it happens automatically that you enter the war,
Flow.
you don't perform the surgery, surgery performs you. Like when I go to surgery now, it is like a time machine. I go in, all of a sudden, everything is done and I'm done with the surgery. But I cannot say I achieved it in a natural way. I just repeated and repeated and repeated that until it became an unconscious part of myself. And I have the feeling that is what you are talking about, the meditation. It is that act of letting it go. It might come natural to you because you have achieved that proficiency in that. But I can just tell you, I am far, far away from that. So, but I see the value of that, and it totally makes sense, and that is why that there are studies that they show that, like these are professional basketball players. When they play and so on, and they throw a ball, it works, it works, it works. But as soon as you tell them, if you throw it in, I give you $200 or $1,000, then they fail.
Yeah.
So, and that sort of letting your inner self, without your consciousness interjecting to perform a task, I think we have good proof, scientific proof of that it actually takes you to take you a step further than the conscious mind could take you. Now, may I ask you just a personal question? What is the longest you have meditated? I mean, for me, meditation is, you just sit there, you shut everything from your mind. And I can tell you that 4.5 minutes is the longest I have achieved. But what is the longest you have been able to meditate?
So when I meditate, I go into Shavasana and I meditate, I sleep off. So sometimes you sleep off and you get up next day. So that's I wouldn't consider. If I wouldn't be considered as standard meditation, it is just sleep. In fact, every day when you are sleeping, it's meditation because you are shut down to all conscious activity and you are connecting to the universe. You become like a child. And so every day you're meditating for at least 5 hours. So you try to, emulate that in daytime, that this 4.5 minutes is incorrect for you because you're sleeping every day. So sleep is one best way to meditate. When you sleep, it's like a small death. So if you could go into Yoga Nidra, that I can show you when you come here. This is by certain breathing techniques, could go into Yoga Nidra. And that would be the beginning of how you can meditate. I have an aneurysm right now. I think they have taken the patient up. So my resident was calling me. So
So you have to go. You have to go and meditate while you're clipping an aneurysm. Well, that has been a fantastic podcast. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Now, what, if I may ask, what is the location of the aneurysm?
It's an ACOM.
ACOM aneurysm, yeah, one of the most common aneurysm. Well, this has been a fantastic educational, trip for me and for I'm sure for our audience and maybe an introduction to the Eastern philosophy, Eastern way of life. I thank you very much. It has been an honor to have you on our podcast. And for Essence of Life, I'm Dr. Abbasi, and we have Dr. Farhad joined us from Germany, and we have Dr. Professor Ike Cherian from India, who has right now have to go and clip an aneurysm after talking about a 7 level of chakras. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.